Progression in FNAF Fangames is a fascinating topic that, to my knowledge, has never directly been covered by anyone. Fortunately, my channel revolves around looking at the interesting mechanical design of different facets of games, mostly FNAF related, so I can remedy this. In this video, I'll be going over different cases of progression in both FNAF Fangames and the official games, and what they do both right and wrong. To begin, I want to explain what I mean by progression systems. I am not talking about meta progression like, say, the skill tree from Tealerland. This is specifically an in-night progression. This tends to usually be a timer from 1 to 6 AM, but sometimes it varies in length or timing, like in Forgotten at Fredbear's, where it's 11 to 3 AM. What I'm not going to be doing in this video is listing random time-based mechanics. I'll be delving mostly into fan games that revolve around more unique mechanics, beginning with FNAF Pizzeria Sim. The task system in Pizza Sim is interesting, and I'm not really sure if that's in a good way. While I do appreciate Scott heavily branching out from the gameplay of the first 4 games, ignoring sister locations since that was also super unique, the mechanic itself doesn't really actually do all that much to differentiate itself from the traditional timer system of the FNAF series. And I would even go as far to say as it makes it more tedious, since instead of doing any sort of interesting task, all you're really doing is awaiting an invisible bar to fill up. The occasional ads and need to turn off your monitor to circumvent threats is most definitely a help to stave off the mundanity, but I can't help but feel that Fangames took this general system and improved it tenfold over a lot of iteration. The perfect case for this evolution is Playtime with Percy. Before I talk about that, though, I'd like to thank you guys for the insane reception of my last video. Originally, this section was going to ask you guys to subscribe before I hit 1K, but somehow that last video propelled my channel to get there. I'll still ask you to subscribe, though. Now, back to the video. The progression in this game revolves around playing 3 different minigames on Pal Percy, which is essentially a Tamagotchi, each task netting you a certain amount of happiness. Once you've hit that threshold, the night ends. While aesthetically it's a far cry from Pizza Sim, if you directly look at the underlying principles, it's almost the same thing. You do a series of timed tasks to fill a bar. This time, the bar is just not invisible, and the tasks are directly interactive, making for a much better experience than just waiting. Percy's even somewhat replicates the system of turning off the monitor, as to do other actions you must close your PAL. Interestingly enough, though, it also incorporates a bit of the timing mechanic, as you have to consistently do these minigames. If you don't, then Pal Percy will get angry and forces you to do the minigames with no choice, so if an enemy is on you, you are completely cooked. There are also some foes that are only staved off by either staying on your PAL or turning it off, which is even more interesting. Overall, in my opinion, this was a really well executed evolution of the original FNAF 6 task system, and is definitely one of the best FNAF progression systems, at least in my opinion. Another interesting case of progression is in A Bite at Freddy's. This game actually has far more in common with the original Night Timer than anything else, while still differentiating itself enough to be interesting. In this game, your goal is to process a certain amount of orders of food per night. This, like the traditional Night system, is on a timer. The orders will gradually be brought over to their destination via conveyor belt, and you must confirm them once they've reached there. What differentiates this from a traditional timer, aside from aesthetically, is that time is more of a resource in this game. Aside from a unique power system, which I won't get into here, your main resource is the time it takes to move the food. As, to fend off different animatronics, you'll have to do things like stop the conveyor belt to your left, since some of the animatronics can crawl into it. Unfortunately, your food is on that conveyor belt, so this makes for an interesting exchange between the inherent necessity of moving the conveyor while also having to handle the animatronics. This mechanic is certainly interesting, but I still find it to steer a bit too close to the original time system for my liking. Not to say that system is bad, but if you're gonna make your progression unique, you may as well go all in. Speaking of that, Tyke and Sons. This game has a very interesting progression system, that being the sleep affirmation mechanic. To complete each night, you must fill your sleep affirmation bar. To do this, you have to successfully fend off against the animatronics. For everyone defended successfully, you attain 1 sleep affirmation. Once the bar is full, you can complete the night. Interestingly though, this only applies to certain threats, especially the ones in the left and right window. In all honesty, I do have yet to fully complete this game, as it's one of the longer FNAF Fangames I've played, and I'm actively playing it as I write this, so the next knowledge is mostly wiki-based. But in the later nights of the game, an animatronic is introduced that can directly stop you from sleeping even after your sleep assurance is full, making for a super interesting threat in my opinion. I actually mostly decided to incorporate this mechanic into the video because a Discord member of my server was talking about an interesting conceptual fangame mechanic wherein you have a defense quota for each animatronic, and once that's fulfilled, that animatronic is shut down for the night. To counteract that, the others get more aggressive. This isn't quite the same as the sleep assurance mechanic, but is interesting nonetheless, and something I've genuinely considered implementing into my personal FNAF fan project. Overall, as my conclusion, I believe that while the original FNAF 1-3 style night system is definitely a very strong mechanic for horror and can work in a multitude of scenarios, it's not a catch-all solution to progression, and the branching out the FNAF Fangames have done is absolutely fascinating. Of course, as with any video, this doesn't cover everything. I mean, I even know of more FNAF Fangames with even more out there progression system, such as Tealerland, but I'll leave that to another video in the case I find more Fangames to make a sequel of this later on. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and join my Discord.